And now, Hurricane Matthew has a friend, Tropical Storm Nicole. Apparently she has a friend behind her. I don't even know what his name is, but he looks scary. And he looks like a total jerk. And then Matthew has a new friend growing from his tail. That's really creeping me out and scary. It's like Earth became a haunted house and Mother Nature is chasing us with a chainsaw of water and wind. God help us all. Stay cool. This is a Thor News presentation. Thor News presents. Here we go. All eyes are intense Hurricane Matthew.
And the latest track reflects the trend in the models farther to the west. That's a problem because that means greater impacts along the coast of Florida, coastal Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Beyond that time frame, there's a lot of uncertainty there, so I wouldn't make any bets in New England just yet. A tremendous amount of water in this home, and then you have the waves on top of that just completely inundating it. And then there's Haiti. Hurricane Matthew made landfall at around 7 o'clock this morning in Haiti. You can see how the eye really redeveloped on the visible satellite here as it emerged out of Haiti. As it interacts with this mountainous terrain, you'd expect it to weaken. It has not happened. Hispaniola, which is typically known as kind of the Shredder Island because of all the mountains there, really hasn't done much to damage this Category 4 hurricane. Hurricane Matthew has kind of done a worst case scenario, threat of the eye, maintaining its Category 4 strength. So this is still a Category 4 storm, and it is heading directly for the Bahamas. A lot of concerns here. The fact that it's such a large storm, such strong winds, that means a number of things. We're looking at the risk of, yes, a tremendous amount of rainfall, over 15 inches likely in a number of spots. And when you look at 10 to 15 feet of storm surge, you're looking at a lot of land disappearing in the Bahamas thanks to that storm surge. And then you put the waves on top of it. Watch these. See those dark purples? You're looking at over 21 up to 25-foot waves in and around that range over the islands. That is a big area of concern.
So what's the steering flow at this point? The northern movement is between this trough, which is now going to be pushing to the north and east, and high pressure, which is off of the east. So now this is the pathway for the storm to move. So tracking Hurricane Matthew into the future, and one of the rules of thumb in hurricane forecasting is watch the trend. And the trend with Matthew has been
to the west. So that's not a very good trend indeed.
Let's focus back on its impact in the U.S. and what could cause some problems. All right, notice our window of movement here. Across the Bahamas, and then because of this high and this weak trough, you're going to get Matthew to take a turn toward the east coast of the United States.
Now, the National Hurricanes official track is taking this up the eastern seaboard.
I'm afraid this is getting awfully close to Florida. I think this is a hit in North Carolina. I'm really worried about the east coast of Florida. Expect a hit.
We already have some watches up. That's right, tropical storm watches for South Florida, parts of the Keys, and Lake Okeechobee. Hurricane watch for Palm Beach County stretching north through the Treasure Coast. You'll notice that those stay along the coast, and that's exactly what we're expecting the storm to do.
Really worried about the Carolinas. I think there's going to be a landfall in the Carolinas. My rule of thumb is if you're west of 75 degrees west and you're moving at enough forward speed, you are not being steered out away from the Carolinas. You are coming in. And that's where I think this storm is going. But expect that hit. I think along the Carolina coast, and I'm saying from Myrtle to the Outer Banks, I think you're going to get a hit Saturday.
So you can see beyond Nassau by Thursday, the winds start to pick up, and it's not just the winds that we're going to feel into the weekend. It will also be rain and, yes, some big waves in the forecast expected.
Folks, coastal Georgia going to see some storm surge flooding. You're going to see similar conditions in South Carolina, North Carolina, and then even stretching up into the Delmarva by the time we get to Saturday.
As far as the Carolinas are concerned, and the Carolinas, let's say from about Hilton Head all the way up toward Cape Hatteras and even northbound along the northern outer banks of the Carolinas. We're looking at a weekend impact, and I think anywhere from Hilton Head on northbound, you need to be prepared for hurricane force conditions. We will keep you updated. It's just going to move right up along the coast, and that's where the biggest problems are going to be.
One thing we can tell you for sure, certainly a lot of dangerous conditions along the coast.
The impacts could actually be felt back to I-95, which is fairly far west.
That cone of error, you'll notice, takes it all the way up the East Coast in the 5-day range.
We do know that up through Cape Hatteras, there's going to be all kinds of problems, all kinds of flooding, heavy rains. Certainly the storm surge will be several feet,
So there will be flooding along the coast, flooding from the heavy rain along the coast, and all kinds of beach erosion, because this storm is going to be moving fairly slowly. And now it's yet to be determined, once we get north of, let's say, Norfolk area, whether the storm comes up or goes out. But this thing is for certain. Matthew's going to get close enough that at least we're going to see tropical storm force conditions along the east coast of Florida.
And this is one to watch because we have plenty of time here, of course, but rain definitely along the coast, and storm surge also an issue along the U.S. coast.
So here you see Matthew here late in the week. Here's this big dip in the jet stream. You can see that, but it's pretty far to the west. So that is not going to cause Matthew either to move inland or to head out to sea. And unfortunately, we're looking at all kinds of problems from Central Florida, Palm Beach, all the way up to Cape Hatteras, probably Norfolk.
What's the first thing you do when an evacuation order is placed? You get gas, and that's what's happening across South Carolina, where the governor has declared that the entire coast will be evacuated. But if you're in Florida, tough time getting anything off the shelves. Completely out of fresh water. Fill up those bathtubs now.
Here's the $1,000,000 question.
What's most important, if there's a mandatory evacuation, evacuate. Don't take a chance.
So this is definitely one to watch.
And we'll be looking at significant water rises and wave action in the Bahamas. So the big impacts today: extensive wind damage, we've already had that in Haiti. Power outages, we've had that in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Flooding, mudslides, we've had it here too. And that devastating storm surge, and that surge working its way up towards Cuba. What has happened, that's what's going to happen in the future. Because this system is going to be with us for almost a week.
Take a look at these photos. These from the hurricane hunters as they investigated Matthew. They caught something pretty. That's right, a rainbow in the midst of Matthew.
This is kind of the calm before the storm in the northeastern states. What a tangled web we weave when we look at the model runs.
Ladies and gentlemen, this situation is getting more serious by the second. It's hard for me to keep up with it. And in the scary October, mega massive Hurricane Matthew won't even begin to make major impacts or landfall until the 8th or 9th of October, which is almost 4 days away. And now, Hurricane Matthew has a friend, Tropical Storm Nicole. Apparently she has a friend behind her. I don't even know what his name is, but he looks scary. And he looks like a total jerk. And then Matthew has a new friend growing from his tail. That's really, really creeping me out and scary. It's like Earth became a haunted house, and Mother Nature is chasing us with a chainsaw of water and wind. God help us all.